What I'm about to explain will feel uncomfortably familiar, almost like someone finally put words to feelings you've carried for decades. For many senior men, this profound shift didn't happen suddenly. It wasn't sparked by one specific heartbreak or a singular disappointment, nor was it a conscious decision to just stop caring about women. Instead, it was a slow, gradual accumulation of experiences, years of quiet observation, deep learning, and a growing understanding of how relationships, especially modern ones, truly function. As men age, a remarkable clarity sharpens their perception. They begin to notice patterns they once overlooked in their youth, identifying behaviors that once seemed normal, but now carry deeper, more significant meanings. This maturation process leads them to recognize with stark certainty what truly brings peace into their lives and what conversely has the power to destroy it. Most men, particularly older ones, don't openly discuss these deeply personal insights. They tend to be private, avoiding emotional speeches or public declarations online, choosing instead to withdraw slowly and silently, step by step. If anyone inquires, their answers are often simple and understated. I'm fine just focusing on myself, or I'm not really interested right now. However, the truth underlying these unassuming responses is far more intricate, revealing that senior men have finally reached a pivotal stage where their emotional energy is deemed too valuable to squander, their hard-won peace too precious to allow disturbance, and their limited remaining time too finite to gamble on uncertainty. One of the most significant yet rarely anticipated reasons senior men appear to stop caring about women stems from a powerful, often overlooked realization: the incredible, undeniable peace found in a life free from romantic drama. As men cross the thresholds of 50, 60, and beyond, their fundamental priorities undergo a significant transformation. The youthful drive to prove themselves, to seek external validation, or to measure their worth through a woman's approval gradually dissipates. Instead, they begin to deeply value something far more critical and sustainable: their mental and emotional stability. While younger men often chase love with the belief that it will complete them, senior men, having lived through decades of diverse experiences, understand that while love can certainly be fulfilling, it can also bring with it an abundance of stress, unmet expectations, significant responsibilities, and sometimes profound emotional chaos. Many reach a reflective point where they genuinely question, is it still truly worth it? For most of their lives, men were implicitly or explicitly taught to pursue, impress, provide for, and often sacrifice for others. But somewhere around midlife, a crucial mask falls away. A man recognizes the sheer amount of his life spent giving, supporting, and tirelessly trying to keep others happy, often receiving little to no equivalent effort or reciprocity in return. This dynamic is frequently unseen by women because society's focus tends to heavily emphasize women's needs, emotions, and expectations. Yet there exists a quiet, understated truth in the background. Many senior men frequently feel unseen, not necessarily unloved, but genuinely unnoticed. Their numerous sacrifices go unacknowledged. Their unwavering loyalty is often underappreciated, and their intrinsic value is questioned or simply taken for granted. Rather than engaging in arguments to fight for recognition or exhaustingly trying to prove their worth and what they offer, these men simply stop caring. This cessation of care doesn't stem from anger or bitterness, but rather from a profound, deep-seated exhaustion. Another major factor contributing to senior men disconnecting from women is their hard-earned ability to discern the crucial difference between genuine companionship and destabilizing chaos. When a man is younger, he often tolerates numerous red flags, enduring mood swings, subtle emotional manipulation, unnecessary arguments, and inconsistent behavior, frequently accepting disrespect because he mistakenly believes that enduring everything is an intrinsic part of love. However, a 60-year-old man armed with experience has no patience for such games. He intimately knows that peace is fundamentally more important than fleeting passion, that stability holds far greater value than transient excitement, and that affection, when devoid of true respect, is utterly worthless. The precise moment a woman introduces unnecessary conflict or drama into his carefully constructed life, he disconnects internally, instantly, and definitively. He may outwardly remain polite, even friendly, but emotionally, he steps away permanently. There's also the undeniable reality of contemporary relationship dynamics. Many older men observe today's dating landscape and feel an acute sense that it simply isn't designed for them anymore. Women often hold vastly different expectations, and the entire cultural paradigm surrounding masculine and feminine energy has undergone a dramatic shift in roles. What once felt intuitive and natural, men leading, women appreciating, with both energies complementing each other, now frequently feels profoundly lopsided and imbalanced. Consequently, many senior men no longer perceive the inherent benefits of entering a relationship where they are expected to constantly provide, protect, plan, and lead, only to receive what feels like meager amounts of softness, unwavering loyalty, or genuine appreciation in return. The powerful truth is that senior men are no longer afraid to decisively walk away from such inherent imbalance. They have lived long enough to instinctively know the difference between a relationship built on equal reciprocal effort and one that is fundamentally lacking in it. Furthermore, one of the deepest truths deeply personal to men is their overwhelming craving for peace above all else as they age. A younger man might crave adventure, a middle-aged man desires stability, but a senior man unequivocally seeks peace. He yearns for someone who genuinely adds positive value to his life rather than draining his energy. Someone who cultivates calm, not confusion. Someone who respects his carefully established boundaries rather than constantly testing them. Once a man attains this profound level of clarity, his criteria for examining potential partners transforms entirely. He no longer cares about superficial beauty, fleeting flirtations, transient attention, or temporary physical attraction. Instead, he scrutinizes for one singular overriding quality: peace. If a woman cannot bring that essential peace into his life, he simply loses interest without further deliberation. Many senior men also stop caring because they finally grasp a difficult but profoundly liberating truth. They don't actually need a woman to achieve happiness. While they may undeniably enjoy genuine companionship, they no longer depend on it for their emotional well-being. Their sense of identity is no longer intricately tied to their roles as a husband, boyfriend, or even just a provider. They have successfully built careers, often raised families, resiliently survived countless hardships, and accumulated a wealth of invaluable wisdom. Crucially, they have also discovered fulfilling passions, engaging hobbies, comforting routines, and steadfast friendships that bring them deep contentment. Unlike younger men who often feel a sense of incompleteness without romantic love, senior men profoundly realize that their happiness is an internally generated, self-created state entirely independent of a romantic partner. This represents an immensely powerful psychological shift, one that women rarely anticipate or fully comprehend. There's also a significant aspect women often misunderstand. Men, despite appearances, often love profoundly, but they tend to detach silently. A woman might erroneously assume a senior man no longer cares, but the underlying truth is often that he once cared too much. He gave excessively. He ignored his own vital needs to prioritize others, and at some point he absorbed a profound and unforgettable lesson. Senior men are not inherently cold, rather, they are exceptionally careful. They are not uninterested, they are fiercely selective, they are not bitter, they are intensely protective of their hard-won peace. When a man matures into such a selective state, he naturally stops caring about superficial connections and ephemeral relationships, evolving to become more introspective, more spiritually aligned, and laser-focused on what genuinely holds significance in the grand scheme of his life. Another potent reason senior men cease to care about women is their complete intolerance for disrespect, particularly its subtle manifestations. Many older men have endured years of being told that their feelings were inconsequential, their opinions outdated, their masculinity toxic, or that they were, in essence, replaceable. However, with the wisdom of age comes a robust sense of self-value. A senior man unequivocally refuses to be treated as a backup plan or merely an emotional and financial wallet. if a woman brings entitlement, incessant demands, or blatant disrespect into a burgeoning relationship, he quietly, yet firmly, walks away. He doesn't engage in shouting matches. He doesn't argue. He simply and definitively chooses himself. This decisive action often shocks many women who have grown up believing that men will always chase, always try harder, always eventually return. But senior men, having crossed a certain threshold, simply do not come back. Once their deeply cherished peace is broken, they leave for good, understanding the sanctity of their emotional well-being. Then there's the poignant loneliness paradox. Many assume that senior men live in fear of solitude. Yet, in a profound twist, many older men actively discover that solitude is a powerful healer. Silence becomes profoundly refreshing, and living life entirely on their own schedule, devoid of arguments, devoid of external expectations, and free from emotional pressure, feels like pure life-giving oxygen. Women frequently articulate a desire for independence, but senior men often authentically embody it. They travel alone, they cook alone, they relax alone, and eventually they develop a profound love for that freedom. Once a man genuinely embraces and enjoys solitude, he becomes extraordinarily selective about allowing anyone new back into the intimate sphere of his life. At this advanced stage, senior men have absolutely no interest in impressing women. They do not chase, they do not beg, they do not feel the need to perform, and they absolutely will not sacrifice their peace to win approval. They intrinsically understand that the right woman will naturally meet them halfway, effortlessly bringing softness, genuine appreciation, deep respect, and unwavering emotional calm. She will be someone who unequivocally adds profound value to his life rather than needlessly complicating it. And if she doesn't embody these qualities, he simply sees no reason to pursue anything further. A remarkably powerful and unexpected reason senior men disengage is their late but vital understanding of something they often overlooked in their younger years. Not every woman is genuinely seeking true committed love. Some regrettably are searching for comfort, convenience, financial security, or mere emotional attention rather than a genuine equal partnership. Many senior men have endured numerous relationships where they generously gave everything, their time, their money, their diligent effort, their unwavering loyalty, only to eventually realize that the woman involved was not committed to the same profound degree. After enduring sufficient disappointment and emotional fatigue, a man instinctively begins to protect himself. He becomes acutely aware of toxic patterns he once dismissed, growing sharper, more discerning, and significantly less willing to invest in anyone who demonstrably fails to invest equally in return. Once a man attains this invaluable level of maturity, he fundamentally refuses to revert to blind, uncritical giving. He completely stops caring about proving his worth because he intrinsically knows his value. If a woman is incapable of recognizing and appreciating that value, he simply walks away without a second thought or lingering regret. Senior men also step back because they have lived long enough to keenly observe how the dynamics of relationships subtly shift with age. They begin to notice that many women become more selective, more demanding, or more emotionally guarded as they grow older, whereas men, conversely, begin to prioritize simplicity and genuine companionship over intense passion or complexity. A senior man does not wish to be interrogated, tested, controlled, judged, or fundamentally molded into someone else's ideal. He desires a woman who accepts him authentically, precisely as he is. At this stage of life, a man has zero interest in being fixed, improved upon, or continuously criticized. He has survived far too much, learned countless lessons, and meticulously built too much of himself to allow someone else to attempt to reshape him. Younger women sometimes attempt to change a man overtly, but senior women frequently do so more subtly through a constant barrage of expectations, implicit complaints, or pervasive emotional pressure. Senior men, despite their calm demeanor, vehemently dislike this dynamic. They cease to care because they instinctively know that true peace cannot be found when one is perceived as someone else's perpetual project. Another quiet, profound truth is that older men have learned, often through painful experience, how incredibly fragile life truly is. By the time a man reaches 50, 60, or even 70, he has almost certainly experienced profound loss. The passing of parents, dear friends, significant relationships, or cherished opportunities. These deeply impactful moments fundamentally shift a man's priorities. He no longer expends precious energy on pointless drama. He no longer engages in arguments purely for the sake of winning. He no longer forces connections that ultimately drain his spirit. When one becomes acutely aware of the finite number of years remaining, there is a decisive choice to prioritize happiness over obligation, peace over chaos, and liberating freedom over stifling stress. Many senior men come to the poignant realization that certain relationships, especially the unhealthy ones, diminish the overall quality of their remaining years rather than enriching them. This is precisely why they become emotionally detached, not because they inherently care less about women, but because they have learned to care about themselves more deeply than ever before. There's also an undeniable financial truth that many older men understand profoundly, but rarely vocalize. When one is young, money often seems limitless. There's a youthful belief that one will always earn it back, financially recover, and rebuild. But as men age, they become fiercely protective of their lifelong savings, their crucial investments, and their carefully planned retirement funds. Many senior men have worked tirelessly for decades to painstakingly build their financial stability, enduring struggles, making significant sacrifices, and meticulous planning. They hold no interest whatsoever in entering relationships that introduce undue financial pressure, perpetuate imbalance, or foster unwanted dependency. The moment a man perceives he is being valued more for what he can provide rather than for who he genuinely is, he instantly checks out emotionally. Senior men feel this phenomenon far more acutely than women often realize. The precise moment a woman's interest feels even remotely transactional, his intrinsic desire fades completely. This reaction is not bitterness. It is a primal instinct. A senior man possesses no desire to be exploited, drained, or unduly financially burdened. He genuinely desires love, not responsibility subtly disguised as romance. Another crucial reason senior men disengage is their hard-won mastery of emotional boundaries. In their younger years, they might have tolerated emotional guilt trips, passive-aggressive remarks, manipulative, silent treatments, or overt psychological tactics. However, older men shut such behaviors down immediately. They possess absolutely no patience for emotional games. They value direct, honest communication, complete transparency, and consistent calmness above all else. If a woman cannot communicate like a mature adult, he disconnects. If she argues to win rather than to genuinely understand, he silently withdraws. If she wields emotion as a weapon, he decisively walks away. Modern dating is often fraught with emotional confusion, and senior men deliberately avoid it like a plague. They demand clarity. They demand maturity. They demand peace. And when those essential elements are absent, they lose interest instantly and unequivocally. Furthermore, senior men disconnect because they have diligently developed profound emotional self-sufficiency. Younger men frequently rely heavily on women for emotional support, external validation, or simple comfort. However, older men have learned invaluable methods for managing their own emotions internally. They have cultivated grounding routines, engaging walks, purposeful work, fulfilling hobbies, invigorating sports, contemplative reading, therapeutic music, or profound spiritual practices. Their emotional life gradually becomes intensely private, staunchly independent, and reliably stable. When a man achieves the ability to self-regulate his own emotions effectively, he no longer experiences a fundamental need for a woman to soothe him. And crucially, once he stops needing emotional nurturing from an external source, he concurrently stops tolerating emotional drama in his life. This emotional independence is the true underlying reason why so many senior men find genuine contentment in solitude. They do not feel empty or incomplete without a partner. Instead, they feel deeply peaceful. There's also the fundamental truth concerning expectations. Many senior men stop caring about women because they have grown profoundly weary of feeling that relationships perpetually require them to perform. Perform emotionally, perform financially, perform socially, and perform romantically. Many women still carry a deep-seated expectation for men to be consistently strong, steadfast, stable, expressive, driven, romantic, and endlessly emotionally available, all while simultaneously acting as providers, problem solvers, and protectors. Senior men have borne the heavy weight of these exhaustive expectations throughout their entire adult lives. When they finally manage to consciously release this immense burden, they experience a profound sense of freedom that they haven't known since their youth. They simply do not desire a relationship where they feel the incessant need to be on all the time. Instead, they long for someone who truly allows them to relax, to be authentically human, and to embrace their imperfections. When they fail to find that crucial understanding, they quietly and purposefully choose a life unburdened by unnecessary pressure. Many senior men also withdraw their caring because they increasingly perceive that relationships in today's world are not balanced. A man frequently finds himself compelled to impress a woman, to constantly prove his worth, to initiate conversations, to meticulously plan dates, to consistently pay for outings, to explicitly demonstrate effort, and to always be reliably present. Meanwhile, many women, perhaps implicitly, believe that simply being present is sufficient. This growing imbalance becomes strikingly evident with age. Older men have lived through enough experiences to instantly discern when effort is truly equal and when it is clearly not. The modern dating environment, they feel, often resembles a one-sided job interview where men are perpetually tested far more than they are genuinely appreciated. Senior men fundamentally do not chase unfairness. Once they perceive that the dynamic is inherently imbalanced, their emotional investment naturally disconnects without fanfare. There is also a profound, deep-seated spiritual reason why many senior men step back: an unwavering quest for inner peace. As men gracefully age, they often become significantly more reflective. They begin to ponder their legacy, their true purpose, and their spiritual growth with greater intensity. They prioritize their mental health, their internal calm, and their core inner strength above all else. Consequently, drama becomes increasingly irritating. Arguments feel utterly meaningless, and emotional turbulence becomes completely intolerable. A peaceful home, a healthy and serene mind, and a beautifully simple life become infinitely more important than romantic entanglement. Many senior men eventually discover that they don't actually need a woman to complete their life, but rather someone who absolutely will not complicate it. Another unexpected and potent reason senior men stop caring is because they finally learn to truly love themselves. While it may sound deceptively simple, countless men traverse their entire lives without genuinely practicing self-respect. They habitually prioritize others. They meticulously hide their pain. They sacrifice quietly, and they stoically endure silently. But as they age, a powerful internal shift occurs. They begin to honor their own vital needs. They establish firm boundaries. They learn to say no unequivocally. They confidently walk away from situations that diminish them. They consciously choose environments that genuinely feel good and nurturing. This profound journey of self-love leads to an inevitable emotional detachment from anything that feels emotionally draining, including problematic relationships. A man who profoundly respects himself will simply never chase someone who fails to respect him in return. But perhaps the most encompassing and biggest truth of all is this: senior men don't fundamentally stop caring about women in their entirety. Instead, they stop caring about the wrong women. They definitively stopped caring about pervasive negativity, ingrained disrespect, unnecessary drama, unfounded entitlement, insidious manipulation, and chaotic emotional upheaval. They stop caring about relationships that relentlessly demand effort without offering reciprocal appreciation. They stop caring about women who demonstrably take more than they genuinely give. They stop caring about situations that unequivocally waste their precious time, their hard-earned money, and their invaluable peace of mind. What senior men truly desire and seek is authentic connection, but only with someone who unequivocally brings calmness, profound respect, genuine gratitude, and consistent emotional stability into their lives. In the final analysis, senior men are not cold or uncaring. They are not emotionally distant or simply uninterested. They are quite simply evolved. They are wiser, calmer, and acutely more aware of what genuinely matters in life. They understand with unshakable certainty the immense value they offer, extensive experience, unwavering loyalty, deep wisdom, steadfast protection, unshakable emotional steadiness, and a profound, mature love. But they also know one crucial thing that women rarely anticipate. Senior men are unequivocally willing to walk away from anything that threatens their deeply cherished peace. And once a man reaches that unshakable mindset, he does not chase, he does not argue, and he absolutely does not return. He simply moves forward, whether with a woman by his side or entirely on his own path.